The room was electric, charged with the kind of tension that made every heartbeat audible. Cameras swiveled, capturing the unfolding drama as the audience leaned forward, sensing that something monumental was about to happen. Jasmine Crockett stepped to the podium, calm but resolute, her gaze sweeping across the crowd with quiet authority. The debate had already been tense, but no one anticipated the revelation she was about to drop. Candace Owens, mid-gesture, mid-sentence, suddenly faltered. Her confident smirk wavered, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty, a crack in the carefully constructed armor of her public persona. The microphone picked up the faintest hitch in her voice, and in that fraction of a second, the world leaned in collectively, sensing the shift. Crockett's eyes locked onto the cameras, her words deliberate, slow, and impossible to ignore. "You've claimed transparency, Candace," Crockett began, her tone steady yet cutting. "But what the public doesn't know is that one email, hidden, overlooked, deliberately concealed, changes everything." She paused, letting the weight of her statement settle over the room. Gasps rippled through the audience. Flashbulbs popped in rapid succession. Even seasoned reporters instinctively leaned closer, as if the walls themselves might carry her next words directly into history. Owens' hand froze mid-air. A faint flicker of panic crossed her face, and for the first time that evening, silence replaced her usual deflection. Crockett had struck precisely at the moment that mattered, peeling back layers of arrogance and control with surgical precision. The audience could feel it, the collective realization that something monumental was happening before their eyes. Social media feeds were already beginning to light up, phones capturing the moment from every angle. Clips would go viral within minutes. Hashtags would trend across platforms. And at the center of it all, Candace Owens sat mute, caught off guard, stripped of her usual defenses, leaving the world to watch her silence fill the room. Crockett's lips curved just slightly, not a smile, but the quiet satisfaction of someone delivering truth with unwavering certainty. Candace Owens went silent, and no one could believe why. The words lingered, heavy, electric, a promise that what came next would leave the entire nation in disbelief. Every camera, every eye, every phone screen was now fixed on a single truth. The story had just begun, and the stage was set for revelations that could not be ignored. The tension in the room didn't just stem from the momentary shock of a hidden email. It was rooted in years of unspoken rivalry, ideological clashes, and public feuds that had simmered long before the cameras rolled. Jasmine Crockett and Candace Owens represented more than themselves. They were symbols, avatars of opposing visions for the country. Crockett embodied integrity, inclusion, and a commitment to truth, while Owens carried the weight of performative bravado, a lightning rod for outrage, and a carefully curated persona built on control and spectacle. Tonight, the stakes were higher than ever. Across the debate hall, viewers could feel the invisible lines of tension crackling like live wires. The audience wasn't just watching a confrontation between two figures, they were witnessing a collision of values, identities, and narratives that resonated far beyond the televised event. For immigrant communities, for those marginalized by rhetoric that prized division over dignity, Crockett's calm authority offered a rare sense of validation. For Owens' followers, the stakes were equally personal. A public misstep here could tarnish years of cultivated influence, eroding trust with a base that demanded consistency and certainty. Political commentators had been circling this debate for weeks. Every headline hinted at an impending showdown, every social media post stoked the fire. This wasn't merely a scripted exchange. It was a moment that could redefine reputations, reshape alliances, and shift the cultural conversation. Crockett had built her career on measured, principled action, and her decision to bring the hidden email to light was calculated, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. The tension was no longer abstract. It was personal, societal, and historical all at once. The history between these two figures only intensified the drama. Past interviews, sharp op-eds, and viral exchanges had set the stage for tonight's clash. Owens had previously challenged Crockett publicly, questioning her credibility and attempting to frame her as idealistic but ineffective. Crockett, in turn, had quietly but persistently exposed contradictions and weaknesses in Owens' public record, waiting for the precise moment to deliver a revelation that could not be spun away. Every eye in the room sensed it, every whisper online anticipated it, and every viewer at home understood that the balance of power could tilt in an instant. And then, with a pause that seemed to stretch across every platform and feed, Crockett reminded the audience why this mattered. "This isn't just about one debate," she said, her voice steady, carrying the gravity of consequence. "It's about accountability, honesty, and the courage to confront the truth no matter who stands in your way." The crowd shifted in their seats. A collective murmur ran through the hall. The weight of history, identity, and ideology pressed down, making it clear, tonight, someone's public story would never be the same. But what Crockett uncovered went far beyond the debate stage, far beyond one viral clip or social media frenzy. It was a revelation with the power to ripple through politics, culture, and society itself, leaving audiences wondering how deeply the hidden truths could reshape the narrative, and who would emerge with their reputation intact. Candace Owens had built a career on certainty, on projecting a fearless confidence that few dared to challenge. From the earliest days of her public life, she cultivated an image of someone untouchable, quick with a retort, sharp with a quip, and seemingly immune to scrutiny. Every interview, every viral clip, reinforced the persona of a woman in total control, a figure who thrived on controversy and knew precisely how to manipulate attention. But behind the flawless facade lay patterns that Crockett, and anyone paying close attention, had already learned to read like an open book. Owens' trajectory had been marked by bold statements that ignited both admiration and outrage. She had mastered the art of commanding the camera, punctuating points with confident gestures, and framing herself as a truth-teller against a backdrop of what she called a biased media. Yet, for all her calculated bravado, her public responses were strikingly predictable. When challenged, she either doubled down with rhetorical flourish or pivoted into deflection, relying on performance over substance. Those patterns, once a source of strength, were now vulnerabilities in the hands of someone who had studied them patiently. Her prior controversies loomed large in the collective memory. Tweets that were deleted but archived, statements that sparked outrage across platforms, and live appearances where her composure faltered under genuine scrutiny, all of these were threads Crockett could weave into a narrative that exposed more than just one hidden email. To the average viewer, Owens appeared untouchable. To Crockett, she was a map of openings and predictable reactions, a villain whose overconfidence would become her undoing. The arrogance was palpable the moment she stepped onto the stage. Owens moved with an air of certainty, scanning the room with a half-smile that suggested she believed the outcome was already decided. Her posture broadcast authority, yet her eyes flickered subtly when she caught the first whispers of murmurs and camera flashes, an instinctive recognition that something was off. It was the kind of micro-expression that anyone skilled in political strategy would immediately notice, the small crack in an otherwise polished veneer. Crockett had anticipated this. The hero of this story had spent weeks, months even, preparing for the exact moment to exploit these cracks. Every predictable defensive maneuver Owens had ever deployed became a potential tool for Crockett to illuminate the truth. The audience could sense the tension building, even if they didn't yet understand why. There was a peculiar thrill in watching someone so seemingly in control face the possibility of being genuinely unsettled, and Owens' initial reactions betrayed the first signs of discomfort. By the time Crockett's revelation began to land, the contrast between the two figures could not have been more striking. Owens, the firebrand, poised but fragile beneath the surface. Crockett, calm, deliberate, and utterly in command of both the stage and the narrative. The room seemed to hold its collective breath as viewers sensed the inevitable. The very traits that had propelled Owens to prominence, her certainty, her bravado, her arrogance, were now the very mechanisms of her vulnerability. Every gasp, every subtle shift in her expression, heightened the audience's anticipation. Frustration mixed with disbelief as the realization set in. This was not a mere debate tactic, a fleeting viral clip, or a passing embarrassment. This was a meticulously crafted exposure, a moment where the overconfident would be humbled, and the patient observer, the hero, would claim the moral high ground. The stage was set for a confrontation that would resonate far beyond this room, leaving viewers eagerly waiting for the next move. Jasmine Crockett had always been a figure defined not by spectacle, but by substance. Her rise in the public eye was grounded in relentless dedication, years of tireless public service, and a moral compass that refused to bend under pressure. Unlike the bravado-driven performances she faced across the stage, Crockett's authority came from experience, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to truth. Every word she spoke carried the weight of preparation, every pause measured to convey not arrogance, but clarity. Her journey had not been easy. From early challenges as a young attorney fighting for justice in communities often overlooked, to navigating political arenas stacked against her, Crockett had faced obstacles that could have silenced anyone less determined. She had witnessed corruption, bias, and systemic injustice firsthand, yet she never allowed cynicism to take root. Instead, she cultivated resilience, learning to turn adversity into strategy, and setbacks into lessons. Those who followed her career understood that her calm composure was not just demeanor, It was earned through countless battles, personal and professional, fought quietly but with unshakable purpose. Crockett's public service record spoke volumes. Advocating for immigrant rights, championing equitable policies, and holding powerful figures accountable, she had built a foundation of trust that transcended partisan divides. Her credibility was rooted in actions, not sound bites, and that distinction would become central to the moment unfolding before the nation. While Owens relied on theatrics and rhetorical firepower, Crockett relied on principle, research, and a steadfast belief in the power of truth to dismantle falsehoods. Even in high-pressure environments, Crockett's demeanor remained steady. She did not rush, she did not panic. Where others might have faltered under the weight of expectation or provocation, Crockett moved with measured confidence, letting evidence and reason dictate the pace of revelation. It was this equilibrium, this ability to combine moral authority with strategic precision, that made her the ideal foil to Owens' bluster. The audience could feel it in real time, a leader unshaken by theatrics, a figure whose quiet strength demanded attention and respect. Her sacrifices had not gone unnoticed. Long hours away from family, the scrutiny of relentless media cycles, and the pressures of representing communities whose voices were too often ignored had shaped her into a hero for a generation craving integrity in leadership. Every challenge she had faced, every ethical line she had held firm against, became part of the armor she now wore as she prepared to expose the hidden truth. There was no ego in her approach, only a commitment to justice and the knowledge that her actions carried consequences far beyond personal gain. And so, as Crockett prepared to reveal the hidden email, the contrast with her opponent could not have been starker. Calm, composed, and impeccably prepared, she stood as a symbol of reason and righteousness. Her plan to reveal the truth would leave the nation stunned, not because it was sensational, but because it was undeniable, meticulously documented, and delivered by someone whose credibility could not be questioned. Every eye in the room, every viewer watching from home, sensed that this was more than a debate, it was a defining moment of character, courage, and consequence. The atmosphere in the debate hall had shifted from tense anticipation to a charged standoff. Every word spoken felt like a measured step on a tightrope stretched between confrontation and revelation. Candace Owens leaned into her usual rhythm, firing sharp rebuttals and quick jabs meant to unsettle, but for the first time, her tactics were met with a wall of composure she could not penetrate. Jasmine Crockett responded with calm precision, each sentence deliberate, each fact grounded in evidence, leaving no room for theatrics to distort the truth. The audience felt the electricity in the air. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as Owens' usual confidence began to falter. Her gestures, once fluid and commanding, now betrayed a flicker of hesitation. Every counterpoint she offered was met with Crockett's steady hand, dismantling arguments with surgical efficiency. It was as if the stage itself was bending under the weight of Crockett's moral authority, leaving Owens scrambling to regain footing. Viewers at home sensed the stakes, leaning forward, phones poised to capture every subtle shift in expression, every falter in performance. Crockett's voice carried clarity through the room, cutting through the usual noise of debate theatrics. She didn't raise her tone or deliver pointed insults. Instead, she framed her rebuttals in a way that highlighted inconsistencies and contradictions, exposing vulnerabilities without ever appearing aggressive. Owens, in contrast, relied on instinct and improvisation, attempting to pivot, to regain control, but the momentum had already shifted. The more she tried to assert dominance, the more evident her unease became, a subtle tremor beneath the practiced veneer. Audience reactions intensified. Gasps, murmurs, and the occasional applause punctuated the exchanges, each response reinforcing the growing perception that this was no ordinary debate. Social media feeds were already lighting up, commentators noting Owens' uncharacteristic hesitation and Crockett's unwavering composure. Every live tweet, every camera close-up amplified the drama, as viewers sensed that the outcome was no longer about opinion but about undeniable truth. The verbal sparring escalated with each passing moment. Owens attempted a series of rhetorical maneuvers, quick-witted remarks designed to provoke reaction, yet Crockett remained unshaken, responding with measured statements that not only countered the attacks but reframed them, turning the spotlight back onto accountability and integrity. The contrast was striking, one figure unraveling under pressure, the other solidifying authority through poise and preparation. Then, in the midst of mounting tension, as the room held its collective breath and cameras captured every flicker of expression, the moment arrived, the turning point that would define the debate. The audience sensed it instinctively. What happened next would not only dominate the evening but go viral across platforms, shaping conversations for days to come. Then, the moment that would go viral happened. The room seemed to contract as Jasmine Crockett reached the moment she had been waiting for. Every camera, every eye, every heartbeat in the hall focused on her. She lifted a folder, the edges crisp and unassuming, holding within it a single truth that would shift the trajectory of the evening. The murmurs quieted, replaced by an expectant stillness, the kind of tension that makes seconds stretch into eternity. Crockett's voice, calm yet authoritative, cut through the silence. "This," she said, holding the folder just above the podium, "is the email that was hidden from the public. The one that contradicts every claim made, every word spoken in defense of transparency." Her gaze did not waver. Every word was deliberate, weighted, and impossible to ignore. She allowed a pause, just long enough for the audience to feel the gravity, for cameras to capture the intensity of the moment. The flash of bulbs punctuated the air like staccato beats of revelation. Candace Owens' reaction was immediate yet subtle at first, a slight tightening of her jaw, a blink too long, a hesitation in her poised composure. The practiced smile she carried so effortlessly froze. The words that had once tumbled confidently from her lips now caught somewhere between disbelief and panic. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. The audience, sensing the shift, leaned forward instinctively, drawn into the spectacle of vulnerability and triumph. Crockett continued, her tone steady, resonating across the room. "This email reveals intentions that were concealed, decisions that contradicted public statements, and a pattern of avoidance that the public deserves to see." The weight of her delivery, paired with the undeniable evidence in her hand, made it clear that this was no performance, no hyperbole. It was truth, meticulously documented and presented with integrity. Each word seemed to reverberate, bouncing off walls, cameras, and screens, imprinting itself on the collective consciousness of everyone watching. The crowd's reaction was instantaneous. Gasps, whispers, and audible exclamations erupted, cascading through the debate hall like a wave. Phones came up, capturing angles from every direction, broadcasting the moment in real time across platforms. Social media feeds lit up as clips of the reveal were shared, commented on, and dissected with relentless fervor. Every eye followed Owens, waiting for a response, and every response, or lack thereof, amplified the magnitude of Crockett's triumph. Owens' silence stretched, becoming almost unbearable. The practiced confidence that had carried her through countless appearances now seemed brittle, fragile in the face of irrefutable proof. The room fell silent. Even Owens' smile froze, replaced by a rare, unguarded expression of shock. Crockett, by contrast, maintained her composure, allowing the moment to breathe, letting the evidence speak louder than words ever could. As the seconds ticked, it became clear, this was a turning point. The hidden email was not merely a document, it was a revelation with power, impact, and consequences that rippled far beyond the debate stage. The hero had exposed the flaw, the misstep, the contradiction, and in doing so, claimed a moral and intellectual victory. Viewers watching at home felt it, the shock, the awe, the quiet satisfaction that truth had prevailed. Crockett's calm authority and the undeniable evidence created a moment that would be replayed, dissected, and shared for days to come. In the arena of public discourse, the hero had triumphed, the villain's facade had cracked, and the world had witnessed the precise collision of integrity and exposure. The stage was now set for the fallout, the conversations, and the ripples that would extend far beyond the immediate debate. Within minutes, the hidden email reveal had exploded across every platform imaginable. Hashtags like #CrockettExposesOwens and #HiddenEmailTruth surged to the top of trending lists, dominating feeds and timelines. Clips of the moment, Crockett's poised delivery, Owens' frozen smile, the stunned gasps of the audience, were shared endlessly, accumulating millions of views in real time. Memes began to emerge, blending sharp satire with admiration for Crockett's composure, spreading like wildfire across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Commentators, pundits, and political analysts scrambled to weigh in. Live broadcasts paused to replay the pivotal moment, dissecting every gesture, every phrase, every pause. Opinion columns published in record time, framing Crockett as the embodiment of integrity and Owens as the archetype of overconfidence undone. Even mainstream media outlets acknowledged the seismic impact, headlining the revelation as a turning point in both political and cultural discourse. The public's engagement was immediate and visceral. Social media users debated, dissected, and celebrated, often layering personal experiences and identity-driven pride onto their reactions. Progressive communities hailed Crockett's courage, emphasizing representation, truth, and accountability. Supporters praised her meticulous preparation, her unwavering calm, and her ability to confront power with dignity. Each post, retweet, and share reinforced a collective sense that justice, however symbolic, had been served in real time. Meanwhile, Owens' followers struggled to respond. Many defended her previous statements, others expressed disbelief, while some simply watched as her public image cracked under the weight of scrutiny. The contrast between the reactions amplified the drama, validating Crockett's approach and heightening anticipation for what would come next. The debate's influence extended far beyond the hall. Every phone screen, every live feed, every online conversation became part of the story, amplifying its reach and resonance. The digital ripple effect was undeniable. Public forums, comment sections, and community groups buzzed with speculation and analysis. Every share, every hashtag, every viral clip reinforced the narrative. The hero had struck a decisive blow, and the audience was now a participant in a larger, unfolding drama. But the fallout was just beginning. As the cameras dimmed and the debate stage emptied, the reverberations of Jasmine Crockett's revelation continued to echo far beyond the hall. Social media feeds were still alight with clips and commentary, but the real story was not the fleeting shock or viral moment, it was the moral clarity that had emerged from it. Crockett had done more than expose a hidden email. She had illuminated a principle that transcended politics, personalities, and partisanship. Integrity, she demonstrated, was a force more powerful than arrogance, more lasting than theatrics, and more resonant than any viral clip. Across communities, viewers reflected on the significance of what had just occurred. Immigrant families, historically marginalized voices, and citizens long frustrated by performative public spectacles felt a sense of validation. Crockett's composure and principled stand reminded them that truth and dignity could prevail, even in arenas dominated by power, noise, and bravado. It was a lesson not merely about one debate, but about the courage to act with conviction, to face opposition without compromise, and to place ethical responsibility above personal gain or spectacle. Analysts and commentators began framing the event as a turning point, noting that Crockett's victory was symbolic as much as it was factual. She had shown that preparation, patience, and unwavering commitment to principle could topple pretense, exposing falsehoods while maintaining one's own moral high ground. The contrast between her calm authority and Owens' rattled reactions served as a visual and emotional lesson. Confidence without integrity could falter, while humility paired with diligence could triumph. Even viewers who might not have aligned politically could recognize the resonance of the moment. It spoke to universal truths about accountability, responsibility, and courage. Crockett's actions demonstrated that standing firm in the face of intimidation or spectacle was not only admirable, it was transformative. It encouraged audiences to consider their own lives, their own decisions, and the importance of truth over appearances, fostering reflection and empowerment on a deeply personal level. And yet, the cinematic weight of the moment lingered. The applause, the gasps, the trending hashtags, all were temporary. What remained enduring was the principle Crockett embodied. In a world flooded with noise, chaos, and constant distraction, her example was a beacon, calm, deliberate, and unyielding in pursuit of justice. It reminded viewers that courage was not always loud, that victory was not always flashy, but that truth, when wielded with integrity, had the power to resonate across hearts, screens, and communities alike. In the end, the debate became more than a spectacle. It became a lesson in leadership, moral clarity, and the enduring power of ethics. In a world full of noise, truth still speaks the loudest. The hidden email reveal wasn't just a debate moment, it was a story of truth prevailing, of integrity standing firm against arrogance, and of courage shining through when it mattered most. Jasmine Crockett's calm, deliberate approach reminded the nation that the real power lies not in theatrics, but in honesty and moral clarity. Candace Owens' stunned silence only underscored the impact. The hero had spoken, the truth had landed, and the lesson was clear for everyone watching. For viewers at home, the moment was more than drama, it was validation. It was proof that standing up for what is right, preparing meticulously, and confronting deception with dignity can make a tangible difference. Communities rooted in resilience, identity pride, and immigrant experiences saw themselves reflected in Crockett's resolve, and for a brief, electrifying moment, they were part of a narrative that celebrated justice, accountability, and courage. Now, the conversation moves beyond this screen. This revelation, this viral moment, is yours to share, discuss, and amplify. Every comment, every share, every conversation helps keep the focus on truth, on integrity, and on holding those in power accountable. It's more than a video, It's a chance to participate in shaping a culture that values honesty over spectacle, principle over performance, and courage over complacency. If you were shocked by this expose, inspired by Crockett's poise, or moved by the stark contrast between hero and villain, share this video and let the world know, truth always wins. Comment below with your thoughts on the debate, and subscribe to stay informed about the stories that reveal power, expose falsehoods, and celebrate integrity in action. Together, we can ensure that moments like this don't fade, they echo, inspire, and continue to drive change.